So I have an insane number of projects going on at the shop right now. I'm working on this BSA Gold Star, which I'm getting ready to sell. And it's coming along well, but I'm waiting for the seal carriers, some new seal carriers and seals for the forks. But it's taking up my motorcycle bench, which is kind of a bitch because I'm also doing this. I'm putting a Powertronic ECU controller, piggyback, into my 390 ADV, and I could really use that stand. This has been a little bit more of a bitch than I expected. At the same time, I'm building this boosted e-foil. The idea is just a boost to get me up while I'm foiling, get me up on the swell, and then I can just ride the swells instead of having to paddle into them with a stand-up paddle, which I can't do. I mean, I'm a pretty good paddler, but I'm too old and fat to be able to get up and stay up. So I'm working on this right now, but I need an extension for my router. So the shop looks a little bit more ransacked than it even usually does. But anyway, back to this thing. So right now I have put in the wiring harness, which is unfortunate. It would be, well, no, it's actually kind of fortunate in some ways because this was such a bitch. The instructions show a very simplified way of doing this. I really could not make that work. I had to take off a lot more stuff than the manual says. So this is the connector for the piggyback ECU, and this is a plug that converts it back to that even with the wiring harness all in place, converts the system back to stock. So, but it also is a diagnostic tool to show that the connections are all proper. So I'll get to that a little later. This is part of the wiring harness. This is a little connector that allows you to switch the maps, and so you can have a switch on the handlebars to switch maps. I didn't buy that switch. I didn't see the value of it for my use. But now that I'm here, I'm looking at this and I realize this is just a shorting plug. I checked it with my voltmeter. I thought there might be a resistor in there or something goofy. But no, it's just a shorting plug. So all I need to do is clip this wire and then add a switch to it. And I'll probably put the switch down here close to, maybe underneath this this release for the rear seat that allows me to take the whole seat assembly off. So there's this little subframe, or I don't know what they would specifically call this. These little frames, I've taken this one off on this side. They brace the subframe somewhat, and there's two braces that run across them. One runs across right here, and one runs across right here. So, here's the other one. So, so all I've done here is loosened up the bolts, as they say. They say loosen this, remove the front bolt, and it looks like this brace, these front bolts also hold the air cleaner box in place. So the wiring harness, you lay the wiring harness in here, and then push it down underneath this edge. Run it along. I ran it along here. I'm going to pull it down. I'm going to pull it down and make certain that nothing is rubbing. I'll put some wire ties on here, and probably pull it up close to this harness. As a matter of fact, I may just bring it up tight to the harness underneath, but it has to clear this. So this is all quite doable. So that's the easy part. Then you have to get, push all the connectors down through here and bring them forward. And some of these plugs are very, very difficult to reach. This is going to be really hard to video in any useful way. But for example, there's so here's the plug. Excuse me. So here's the plug for the injector. So you unplug this from the injector and plug this in. Now theoretically, you're supposed to do that from the side here. In the instructions, they show you being able to somehow get in there. There's no way I could do that. My hands are too fat. It might possibly be feasible, but I couldn't make it work. So I had to take the tank off, which the instructions don't show anything about. And I'll go over a little bit about how to take off the tank. Then there's also a connector that comes through here and connects to the coil. So that connection is right there. And there's a connection that goes to the throttle position indicator. And in the manual, they talk about being able to reach that from the side. In practice, I don't know how on earth anybody could do that. The actual connector is down in here. It sits right next to the fuel injector system, and so it's way down in there. I had a hell of a time getting at it, and of course it's only really accessible from the right side of the bike. They say it's accessible from the left. I think they're on drugs, but anyway, I managed to finally get it loose. Wasn't easy, and these plugs are not consistent in how the release works. And I'm not going to go over every release mechanism, but you can see down in here inside this thing, the plug has a little button. Some of these, the releases are on top. This is actually a connector for the gas tank. And this is kind of a typical kind of connector, but the release mechanism, I still don't know how that worked. I managed to get it to disconnect after a lot of fiddling, but it wasn't straightforward. So I'm sitting here looking at that thinking, I don't know what that goes to.